Welcome to our third series of our 5 things in terms of going global. Today, we're going to talk about unpacking the jargon. As you will remember, in our first 2 series, we spoke about why consider offshore investing. We then spoke about the different options that you might have once you consider going offshore. But it is still very complex. There's a whole lot of jargon out there. There's a whole lot of terminology that most people don't understand. And investment people love using acronyms and abbreviations. And so today we're going to try and simplify that. And in studio, we've got Brandon, our lead specialist on the investment proposition side, and he's going to take us through some of that jargon, and he's going to help demystify it and simplify it for us. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you, Famila.
Okay, so as a start, we often hear about SDA. What is SDA? What does it mean?
SDA refers to your single discretionary allowance, and it's a term that came about in the year 2015 in South Africa. And it references a portion of funds. It's currently 1 million rand per calendar year that an individual can externalize via an investment or via a donation or via your travel or even studies abroad. So essentially, the first 1 million rand that you can externalize from South Africa without any additional clearances being needed from SARS or the SARB, that is what your single discretionary allowance, SDA, means.
And what about investors that have more than 1 million rand to invest? How would they do it?
There actually is another acronym. It's your FIA, or your Foreign Investment Allowance.
Sure.
So this refers to the 10 million rands per calendar year beyond your first 1 million SDA that you can externalize. But for this, you do need to jump through a few more hoops, right? So you need to get tax clearance from SARS in order to access this additional 10 million rand per calendar year. So what I'm saying is, you've got your first million single discretionary allowance, and now you've got your additional 10 million being your foreign investment allowance. So every one of us could, in theory, externalize 11 million rand per calendar year. But, I mean, there are individuals out there who'd like to do a little more than that. So there is even an option to approach the SARB on funds greater than 11 million rand per calendar year, and those are dealt with on a case-by-case basis.
Once we start talking about the South African Revenue Services, we start talking about the Reserve Bank, it leads me to think that I'm going to need some kind of guidance, either, to help me externalize the money or get some kind of tax help or tax clearance. What do you suggest an investor does if they are seriously considering taking more than 1 million rand offshore? Do they need different partners involved?
No, absolutely they would. So as we covered a little earlier on, you would need a tax clearance certificate in order to take greater than 1 million rand offshore. Now, you can try to access this tax clearance certificate via your e-filing services with SARS, or you can make use of an accountant or a service provider who literally specializes in getting these tax clearance certificates, right? So there are these types of service providers available within our offshore ecosystem at Liberty. But you mentioned, what about taking the funds offshore and actually getting the externalization? Now, that refers to converting your rands into a foreign currency and getting it across to the investment destination of your choice. And again, that may sound like a simple task, and you may at first thought say, I'm sure I can do that via my banking institution, which you can. But here again, we've got partners within our offshore ecosystem that can aid you with your foreign exchange and then with externalizing funds. So what I'm trying to say to you is that every step of the journey, we've got a specialist in place to try and simplify that entire journey for the client.
I think that sounds incredible. So to summarize, Brandon, what you're saying is you've got a solution that can help advisors and clients help externalize their money. There are partners that can help get tax clearance on behalf of our clients. There are partners that can help take our money offshore. And then there are advisors that can take clients through the whole offshore advice journey end to end, which is brilliant. I think it can be quite daunting if one is expected to do this by him or herself. So that's great.
To just add on to that, I think all of those partners that you just referenced are absolutely what we have in our ecosystem. But
great.
Without sounding very much, but there's more, because with intergenerational wealth transfer, which does happen and does happen across borders as well, we see the need to have international fiduciary services available to clients. So let's say I want to set up an offshore trust as an example, right? Who does that for you? And we've got the Standard Bank International Fiduciary Services team, which is available within our offshore ecosystem to make those types of services available. So I think we've pretty much got you covered throughout your offshore journey.
That's great. And it's really great to see an end-to-end proposition taking a client on a journey from beginning to end. But how do you choose a trusted partner? What are some of the things that clients can look for when finding someone to trust, particularly with such large sums of money?
Sure. I mean, as a starting point, every single person you speak to will say, start with an advisor. But I suppose the question is, how do I choose that advisor, right? And I think it's really important to choose an advisor who you trust first and foremost, but secondly, who's accredited, registered with the FSCA, has the required skill, experience, knowledge on offshore investing in order to partner on this journey with you. And I think that would be a great starting point. As we've mentioned, as Liberty, we've got an ecosystem in place to supplement the advisor that you have in order to ensure that your overall journey is taken care of.
So whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out, Liberty has all of the solutions for you to help diversify your investments and grow your wealth. Liberty is invested in it with you, and we are passionate about going global together.